Our country, our people, and our laws have to be our top priority. It's a blip, not a catastrophe. The final key to the way I promote is bravado. I play to people's fantasies. People may not always think big themselves, but they can get very excited by those who do. That is why a little hyperbole never hurts. People want to believe that something is the biggest, the greatest, and the most spectacular. The point is that if you are a little different, or a little outrageous, or if you do things that are bold or controversial, the press is going to write about you. Hurricane will be tremendously big and tremendously wet. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the ability to act effectively in spite of fear. Leverage, don't make deals without it. Enhance. When people are in a focused state, the words "I can't," "I'll try," "I'll do it tomorrow," and maybe get forced out of their vocabularies. Contrary to what a lot of people think, I don't enjoy doing press. I've been asked the same questions a million times now, and I don't particularly like talking about my personal life. A government big enough to give you everything you want is a government big enough to take from you everything you have. Living your words, walking your talk, and talking your walk. Partnerships must have loyalty and integrity at their core. Because much more often than you'd think, sheer persistence is the difference between success and failure. Money was never a big motivation for me, except as a way to keep score. The real excitement is playing the game. Think big. You are going to be thinking anyway, so think big. Most people think small because they are afraid of success, afraid of making decisions, afraid of winning. Do not spend too much time planning or trying to anticipate and solve problems before they happen. That is just another kind of excuse for procrastination. Until you start, you won't know where the problems will occur. You won't have the experience to solve them. Instead, get into action and solve the problems as they arise. Rules are meant to be broken. As an entrepreneur, I choose my teachers carefully, very carefully. I am extremely cautious of the people with whom I spend my time and to whom I listen. Luck does not come around often. So when it does, be sure to take full advantage of it, even if it means working very hard. When luck is on your side, it is not the time to be modest or timid. It is the time to go for the biggest success you can possibly achieve. That is the true meaning of thinking big. The worst things in history have happened when people stop thinking for themselves and listen to other people and, even worse, start following other people. That's what gives rise to dictators. The most important thing in life is to love what you're doing, because that's the only way you'll ever be really good at it. President Reagan put it best: welfare's purpose should be to eliminate, as far as possible, the need for its own existence. Criticism is easier to take when you realize that the only people who aren't criticized are those who don't take risks. A tiny leak can sink a ship. A great leader has to be flexible, holding his ground on the major principles, but finding room for compromises that can bring people together. A great leader has to be savvy at negotiations, so we don't drown every bill in pork barrel bridges to nowhere. I know how to stand my ground, but I also know that Republicans and Democrats need to find common ground to stand on as well. Perhaps because my father never got a college degree himself, he continued to view people who had won with a respect that bordered on awe. In most cases, they didn't deserve it. My father could run circles around most academics, and he would have done very well in college if he'd been able to go. Get going. Move forward. Aim high. Plan a takeoff. Don't just sit on the runway and hope someone will come along and push the airplane. It simply won't happen. Change your attitude and gain some altitude. Believe me, you'll love it up here. As long as you are going to be thinking anyway, think big. Show me someone without an ego, and I'll show you a loser. When you are wronged repeatedly, the worst thing you can do is continue taking it. Fight back. What separates the winners from the losers is how a person reacts to each new twist of fate. It doesn't hurt to get more education. Sometimes your best investments are the ones you don't make. What's the point of having great knowledge and keeping them all to yourself? Anyone who thinks my story is anywhere near over is sadly mistaken. I try to learn from the past, but I plan for the future by focusing exclusively on the present. That's where the fun is. I've read hundreds of books about China over the decades. I know the Chinese. I've made a lot of money with the Chinese. I understand the Chinese mind. One of the problems when you become successful is that jealousy and envy inevitably follow. There are people, I categorize them as life's losers, who get their sense of accomplishment and achievement from trying to stop others. As far as I'm concerned, if they had any real ability, they wouldn't be fighting me, they'd be doing something constructive themselves. You know, it really doesn't matter what's right as long as you've got a young and beautiful piece of ass. Remember, there's no such thing as an unrealistic goal, just unrealistic time frames. Don't get sidetracked. If you do get sidetracked, get back on track as soon as possible. Ultimately, sidetracking kills you. I know words. I have the best words. I discovered, for the first time but not the last, that politicians don't care too much what things cost. It's not their money. I've always felt that a lot of modern art is a con, and that the most successful painters are often better salesmen and promoters than they are artists. And if it can't be fun, what's the point? Good publicity is preferable to bad, but from a bottom-line perspective, bad publicity is sometimes better than no publicity at all. Controversy, in short, sells. Watch, listen, and learn. You can't know it all yourself. Anyone who thinks they do is destined for mediocrity. My style of deal-making is quite simple and straightforward. I aim very high, and then I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing to get what I'm after. Everything in life is luck. My people keep telling me I shouldn't write letters like this to critics. The way I see it, critics get to say what they want to about my work, so why shouldn't I be able to say what I want to about theirs? There's an old German proverb to the effect that fear makes the wolf bigger than he is, and that is true. I don't hire a lot of number crunchers, and I don't trust fancy marketing surveys. I do my own surveys and draw my own conclusions. Success comes from failure, not from memorizing the right answers. I like to think of the word focus as follow one course until successful. My motto is, always get even. When somebody screws you, screw them back in spades. No one can match America. We have big hearts and the courage to do what's right. But we're not the world's policemen. And if we have to take on that role, we need to send a clear message that protection comes at a price. If other countries benefit from our armed forces protecting them, those countries should cover the costs. Period. I have a very simple rule when it comes to management: hire the best people from your competitors, pay them more than they were earning, and give them bonuses and incentives based on their performance. That's how you build a first-class operation. All of the women on The Apprentice flirted with me consciously or unconsciously. That's good to be expected. Building a brand may be more important than building a business. You do your job, you keep your job. Do it well, you get a better job. Had some beautiful pictures taken in which I had a big smile on my face. I looked happy, I looked content, I looked like a very nice person, which in theory I am. Entrepreneurs are always taking feedback, especially from their customers, bankers, workers, and sales force. Without straightforward feedback, entrepreneurs cannot make sound decisions. The worst of times often create the best opportunities to make good deals. The biggest little thing for entrepreneurs is the lifelong commitment to education. When I look at myself in the first grade and I look at myself now, I'm basically the same. The temperament is not that different. The other people I don't take too seriously are the critics, except when they stand in the way of my projects. In my opinion, they mostly write to impress each other, and they're just as swayed by fashions as anyone else. One week at Spare Glass Towers they are praising to the skies. The next week, they've rediscovered old, and they're celebrating detail and ornamentation. That experience taught me a few things. One is to listen to your gut, no matter how good something sounds on paper. The second is that you're generally better off sticking with what you know. And the third is that sometimes your best investments are the ones you don't make. Because I've never been terribly interested in why people give, because their motivation is rarely what it seems to be, and it's almost never true altruism. The more predictable the business, the more valuable it is. It is easier to ask for money when you don't need the money. Learn something new every day. Strong relationships are the key. One thing I've learned about the press is that they're always hungry for a good story, and the more sensational the better. It's in the nature of the job, and I understand that. The point is that if you are a little different or a little outrageous, Your business and your brand must first let people know what you care about and that you care about them. I try to learn from the past, but I plan for the future by focusing exclusively on the present. The harder you work, the luckier you get. Focus is essential to success, and successful people are people who can focus. Well, I love to read. Actually, I'm looking at a book, I'm reading a book, I'm trying to get started. Where there's a will, there's a way. That, you have to leave your comfort zone,